The right bid strategy can make or break your e-commerce Google ads. If you're just guessing with your bids, you are throwing money away and quickly. But nail down the perfect bidding approach, and you are looking at a serious stream of conversions and ROI. In this guide, I'm going to show you the simplest, most effective bid strategy for e-commerce Google ads. One that's designed to maximize your returns without overcomplicating things. Alright guys, so here we are, and let's first just discuss why your Google Ads bid strategy actually matters in the first place. And the reason is it affects how much you pay and how often your ads are going to appear, meaning your impression share, which is a really important metric to pay attention to. And ultimately, it's going to be the biggest driver of revenue and profit. Now, after your targeting, I'd say targeting and then bid strategy are like the two top things, the two highest leverage decisions that you make in Google Ads, and then everything else is kind of lower down the priority list than those two things. So bid strategy is super important to get this decision correct. I do think it's your highest leverage decision after your targeting, but targeting isn't really just one decision, it's lots of decisions like which keywords are you going to target. The Google Ads bid strategy, however, that you use is the highest leverage single decision that you can make in Google Ads, the bid strategy and the target. So how you configure the bid strategy is also part of this. And there's a couple of common mistakes that you want to avoid, guys. And one of the things that I see happening, and this is a mistake you want to avoid, is using cost per click as your main focus. Now, one thing to know about me is that when I'm in my Google Ads accounts and optimizing things for my clients, do you know what? I don't even have the CPC column visible on my dashboard most of the time because it's just kind of meaningless when you compare it to other metrics like ROAS, revenue, profit, spend. You know, if ROAS is on track, I don't care about the CPC, so why bother looking at the CPC? Definitely don't over-focus on the CPC and maintain more of a focus on revenue-based metrics like your ROAS, like your revenue, like your gross profit after ad spend. And don't set unrealistic goals. So this is a really common mistake that I see. If you set a goal that's really high, unrealistically high, then all that's going to happen is the system's just not going to spend. It's going to make the CPC bids really low because you set your goals so high and you're going to have a campaign that never gets off the ground. On the flip side of things, setting too low of a goal, i.e. setting like your ROAS target really low, means the system can just spend like crazy. So if the ROAS target or the goal is too low, you're going to spend too much and unprofitably. And then if your return on ad spend target is too high and your overall goal is too high, then the system's just not going to spend at all. It's not going to be able to do anything for you. Okay, so avoid that. You need to find somewhere in the middle so that you're not at one of those extremes. Okay, understand conversion-based bidding. So here we are. This is the best bid strategy that you can be using for e-commerce and Google Ads is basically anything that's conversion focused, which means maximize conversions or maximize conversion value. Those are the two main candidates here. And then you've got target ROAS and target CPA, which are really just kind of subsets of maximize conversions or maximize conversion value. So which one should you be using, right? And I should just say that overall, yeah, conversion-based bidding is ideal. It aligns your ad spend with what matters most, the actual sales, the actual conversions, and the actual revenue. Yeah, so you do want to choose either maximize conversions or maximize conversion value, and then you want to make sure you have the correct target set, but we'll cover that in a minute. First up, choosing between maximize conversions and maximize conversion value. So conversions, if you choose to maximize for conversions, then the thing to know is that you're going to just be optimizing for the number of sales, and the system's going to be treating all sales as equal. Whereas if you optimize for conversion value, now you're optimizing for the actual revenue you get from each sale. So customers that come in and buy more expensive products that make you more revenue and money, they will be preferred. They will be more optimized towards versus a lower value customer, all other things being equal. So in most cases, I do recommend going with maximize conversion value for e-commerce because it respects and pays attention to your actual revenue. I think there are limited cases where you might go for maximize conversions, like maybe if all your products are the same price, then you could go for Maximise conversions, or they're all a very similar price, but even then, like, Maximise conversion value would still work. So I'd probably just be using Maximise conversion value in most cases. Okay, starting with Performance Max. So Performance Max is just a great starting place as a campaign type if you're new to Google Ads e-commerce. It allows you to very quickly test ad inventory across all of Google's network. So it's a great place to start for newbies. So yeah, it shows you ads across all of Google's network, gives your products maximum exposure without needing multiple campaigns. So it's a great tester campaign. It's a great place to start and then start to see what kind of performance Google Ads can get for you. So let's talk about steps to set up PMax, Performance Max, with conversion value based bidding. So you create a new campaign in the interface, you set sales as your goal, then choose Performance Max, set your bid strategy to conversion value, and then you want to set your daily budget. So let's just have a quick look at how that actually looks in the flesh. So new campaign. So sales as your objective, and then make sure that the correct conversion goal is selected there. You can see we've got purchases there. Continue, and then you want to select a campaign type, and in this case we are going to be doing Performance Max. And this is the point where you would then select your product feed. Very important to have your product feed attached so that Performance Max generates actual shopping ads for you, which is the most important part of your Performance Max campaign. And what I wanted to show you is this is the bit where you select your bid strategy, and you can choose either conversions or conversion value. Those are the two main options there. I recommend going for conversion value. And then this is where you would set a target return on ad spend if you were doing a conversion value based campaign. If you were doing conversions as a campaign type, you would select a target cost per acquisition here. And your ROAS that you can set here, well, we're going to cover what setting to put in here later on, but like, it's very simply put, it's a percentage basis. So if you wanted to get a 300% ROAS, you just put that in there, and then the system will aim you towards that ROAS target. So I'm not going to cover the full campaign flow. That's a topic for another video. Just wanted to cover that part, like how you actually set this bid strategy up. And then in terms of daily budget, so you're going to have to select a daily budget for your new campaign. And I recommend that what you do here is you pay attention to the fact that if you're new to Google Ads, it's possibly not going to be profitable for you for the first 1 to 2 months. I mean, it can happen faster sometimes, but you should budget for at least 2 months of it not being profitable yet. So your return on ad spend is going to be below your profit level, which means that for your daily budget, for the campaign budget, you want to set the highest budget you can that you are 100% comfortable with just flat out losing for 2 months. Now, I'm not saying you're going to lose it for 2 months. You're probably going to make some return. You might get profitable within 1 month, but it might not be profitable, and it might take 2 months to get profitable, or there might be some hiccup and you might not be profitable at all. So in terms of being safe, you want to set the highest budget that you can, where the highest budget that you can, because that maximizes the speed of your testing, but also where you're 100% comfortable with losing it for 2 months. So like, if you like, maybe you could afford to spend 100 grand in a month, and that would be the highest budget that you can set, but you're nowhere near comfortable losing that for 2 months. I mean, who is? So therefore you would want to set the budget lower than that to an amount, whatever it is for you in your business, considering your cash flow, where you are actually just comfortable losing that budget for like 2 months, because it takes a while to get going. It takes a while for the system to learn, get your good return on ad spend. Yeah, PMax is perfect for scaling your store while keeping things simple. You just have to keep that one campaign going and it will test out multiple networks for you. It also gives Google the data it needs. It's going to start generating conversions. After it started generating conversions, Google's going to make better and better decisions on your bidding strategy and be able to get better and better return on ad spend. So let's talk about adding a target ROAS or target CPA for better overall results. So when you do have some data in your Performance Max campaign, you can switch on a target ROAS or a target CPA. So remember over here, that's this bit here where you can tick this box and decide a target to set, either ROAS for conversion value or CPA for conversions. And I do recommend setting a target ROAS because I recommend using Maximise conversion value. So you can see here, if you do focus on conversion value, then you're going to be setting a target ROAS. This is the recommendation that I have for you. It's the better way to go for most e-commerce advertisers. But if you are doing maximize conversions and using a target CPA, then what you're doing here is just you're able to set the maximum you can pay for a given conversion, or the target that you want to pay for each conversion. For example, $20 per purchase. If you put $20 in the target CPA, the system's going to be aiming you to spending about $20 per purchase. So here's some important tips for when you are setting your targets. And that is, first of all, to wait before you set your targets. If you have launched a new Google Ads campaign or a new Performance Max campaign, you do want to wait a bit before implementing a target ROAS or a target CPA, because in the early days, the system isn't going to have enough conversion data to bid optimally for you. So allow Google to gather data for at least 4 weeks or 50 plus conversions. The more the merrier, whichever one of those two things happens first. So wait for that, and then use the data that you have in your campaign to set your actual targets. So look at your average CPA or your average return on ad spend over the past, say, 30 to 60 days, and set a realistic target based on what the campaign has actually been achieving, right? So if the campaign has been achieving a 300% ROAS, don't think that you can just go straight to a 1000% target return on ad spend as your next return on ad spend target. That would be unrealistic. Setting something like 350%, which is close to what it's actually been getting, that would be more realistic. So start with a modest target and gradually increase based on how the campaign is going, based on your good way of monitoring the campaign, which I'm going to cover next in one of the following sections. So let's talk about testing and adjusting your target CPA or ROAS. So one of the things that you should note is that after setting up your target CPA or ROAS, it's important to be patient. You don't want to be adjusting your target based on small data sets, because this harms more than it helps. So when I say small data sets, I mean batches of like 10 conversions, or looking at the past 1 day of data. That's too small of a data set. And if you're evaluating the performance of your bid strategy based on such a small data set, you're just going to be harming things more than you're helping things, really. So how should you evaluate your bid strategy? Here's how. First of all, you want to adjust your date range in Google Ads so that you can ideally see 50 plus conversions. The more the merrier, right? When you get to around 200 plus conversions, then I start to be really confident that this data is somewhat accurate, right? So I say 50 plus conversions, but that's not really even the point where I'm 100% confident yet. So to give you an idea, like if it was 10 or less conversions, I'm not confident in that data at all. That's like anything that I see in terms of ROAS or CPA when it's 10 or less conversions, that could just be pure random luck. It's not statistically significant data. Now, when you're looking at 50 plus conversions, now I'm starting to get a bit more confident, and I might actually make decisions based on that data. And then like when you get to 100, 150 conversions, I'm feeling more and more confident. And then 200 plus conversions is where I'm kind of maximally confident. Beyond 200 plus conversions, you're not going to see much variability in the data, and you're now starting to see a really true picture of how it looks. So it's kind of like a range, but as a minimum, I would say 50 plus conversions before you start considering this data quite significant and making decisions around it. You also want to look at your search lost impression share due to budget, and make sure that if your return on ad spend or CPA is on track, that your search lost impression share due to budget is always down at 0, right? So what this means is this metric here is telling you how much of the market are you missing out due to your daily budget, like due to your budget cap, right? And the thinking is, my philosophy is that if your CPA or ROAS is on track, then you should be profitable. If you're profitable, then you don't really want to be limited by your daily budget. And if you see any number here, then you are being limited by your daily budget on a campaign that's profitable. So any number above 0% that you see for search lost IS due to budget on a campaign that's hitting its target, that just means you should raise your daily budget, assuming you don't have any business issues like stock, like inventory, things being out of stock, or cash flow. Assuming no business issues like that, just raise the daily budget if you see anything next to your search lost IS due to budget, right? Now, also when evaluating your bid strategy, you want to pay attention to reporting delays. So Google reports the time of the sale to the time of the last ad click, not to the time the sale actually happened. And some sales will be delayed, right? So if I click on a Google ad today, but I don't make the sale until 2 days later, right? So there's that 2-day delay between when I clicked the Google ad and when I made the sale. So Shopify and Google Analytics, they will say the sale happens in 2 days' time when the sale actually happens. Google Ads, on the other hand, will say the sale happened today, on the day when the last ad was clicked. This means there's something called a conversion time lag, a time over which your very recent Google Ads conversion data is not going to be fully accurate because it hasn't accounted for all those time-lagged sales, if that makes sense. So Google shows you where you can see this in the system. Some sales will be delayed, which means when you're looking at very recent date ranges like yesterday, past few days, past 7 days, the default column in Google Ads is not going to be showing you the full picture. It's not going to be showing you all the revenue. So you can't really evaluate your bid strategy on very recent data. And by the way, this affects the sort of delay in reporting all the conversions. It's really big if you have a high consideration phase product, right? Like let's say, I don't know, you're selling cars. Cars are really expensive. People think about that for a really long time. So the consideration phase, the distance, the amount of time between the last ad click and then buying the item could be weeks, could be months, right? So that's a really long consideration phase. And when you have a product like that that takes a long consideration phase, this issue of reporting delays, where Google reports the time of the sale back to the time of the last ad click, this can be a big issue. So for impulse purchases where everyone buys on the day of the last ad click, it's less of an issue. But it's important to note this when you're evaluating your bid strategy. Also, learning periods. If you've made a big change to campaign composition, bid strategy type, daily budget, or the target, then results will be variable during the learning period, and you don't want to decide your bid strategy isn't working if like based on data where it was in learning period. You need to let it get out of learning period first. And the other thing to note is your bid strategy report. So the bid strategy report is where in one place in Google Ads, you can kind of see all this stuff nicely. So let's just do an example in one of my client accounts. Okay, first of all, here, let's pull up the column for, let's just call it budget, search lost impression share due to budget. So that pulls up the column there, and as you can see, they're all like pretty low and down towards zero. This one was actually losing 83% of its impression share due to budget. This is mostly because it's a new campaign. But to give you an example, right, if you see a high number here, like you're losing a lot of impression share due to budget, but the ROAS is high and well above your target, then you just want to raise your daily budget. That means you can just be spending more at that profitable ROAS just by raising your budget, and it's an easy way to make more profit. If you see a number here that's greater than zero under search lost IS due to budget, and your ROAS is very profitable. So watch out for that one. That's what I was talking about there. And for your bid strategy report, okay, this is where you want to be evaluating the effectiveness of your bid strategy. And let's look at this one here. Actually, before I do that, here you can see the learning time. So this client account is actually a high consideration phase product. And here in the interface is where Google tells us the consideration phase. If you hover over this blue bar, Google's going to tell us that it takes up to 15 days after an impression for most of your conversion data to be reported. So you can see here that today, if we were looking at today's revenue, we'd only be seeing about 85% of the picture. To get up to 99% of the revenue, we have to wait up to 24 days. So that's what I mean about how this can be a bigger effect if you have a long consideration phase product. And this blue bar on your timeline tells you the time you need to wait, right? I wouldn't consider the data inside this time frame to be fully ready. It's not tracking all the conversion value yet. And if you click here, so you want to pull up the column for bid strategy type, and then if you click into it, you are going to see your bid strategy report. And this is where you can get a much better idea of whether or not your bid strategy is working. So if you scroll down, then you can see your average target ROAS versus the actual ROAS over a given period. And check this out, right? If we were looking at this, we might say, our actual ROAS is a bit below our target. Oh no, should we be worried? Well, hang on a second. First of all, actually, let's do another example. Let's look at like past 7 days. Now you can see the average ROAS is even lower, right? So if you didn't know what you were doing, you might see this and go, oh my gosh, it's only 237 versus my 343 target. However, remember what I said about conversion volume. That's less than 50. That's not enough conversions. So we need to widen the date range. Now we've got a good amount of conversions. That's a better amount of conversions. The actual ROAS still looks lower than the average target ROAS. However, look, we're not reporting the full conversion value here. So we are looking at a date range where some of the conversion value is not being fully reported yet. So this is some days where there's still delayed conversions that are yet to come in. So if we now, and if we look at the date there, it's around about from the week of the 4th of November. So what we want to do here is then just look at slightly older data. So let's go there and then let's get more data so we have enough conversions. Click OK. And then boom, you immediately see that actually the ROAS is pretty close to target. So this is what I mean. Like if you don't know how to evaluate the bid strategy properly, you might look at past 7 days, you might look at not enough conversions, you might be looking at date ranges where delayed conversions are yet to come in, or where the algorithm was still in learning mode, and you might incorrectly decide the bid strategy isn't working, and then you might start changing bid strategies or changing campaign settings in a bit of a panic trying to make it work, when in actual fact it's already working. You just need to be patient and look at the data correctly. By the way, if it is in the learning period, you normally are going to see that here. In this campaign, we're not seeing it because we haven't made any major changes that would throw the campaign into learning mode during this time frame. But if you were in learning mode for some date range that you were looking at, you're going to see it here as a bar on the chart, exactly like we saw the conversion delay. Now, how often should you review your bid strategies? So I would review your bid strategies like this once per week, right? So use this kind of formula for evaluating your bid strategy and do that once per week. Don't do it daily. You will drive yourself nuts, and there's no point because you don't want to be changing it daily. You probably want to be changing it at max once per month anyway, and you just check it once per week just to make sure it's continuing to perform okay, right? If you are very profitable and you want to increase your volume, get more sales, then what you can do is you can experiment with lowering your ROAS target or increasing your CPA target if you're on a CPA target. And what that will do is it will get you more volume, it will get you more sales at the expense of margin, right? So you're going to be at a lower ROAS or a higher CPA, but you will get more sales, right? So this is the big trade-off in Google Ads. So you can experiment with that. If you're very, very profitable, but you need to pump up your volume, then you can experiment with lowering your ROAS target or increasing your CPA target. On the flip side, if you're getting tons of sales, but it is not profitable enough, you're spending a lot, but that spend is unprofitable, then experiment with increasing your ROAS target or decreasing your CPA target. So it kind of has the opposite effect there. Let's talk a bit about an advanced strategy, which is adding new customer acquisition to your bid strategy. So if you're focused on reaching new customers, there is a setting you can use. This is for more advanced advertisers, called new customer acquisition. It will make the campaign prioritize getting you more new customers. It will make the system bid a bit higher when it knows that it's a new customer versus a returning customer. You do need a high conversion volume for this strategy, so I recommend over 200 conversions per month. How to do it? Okay, duplicate your campaign and then turn on customer acquisition in the new campaign. And then you're going to want to do a bid strategy adjustment, right? So what you do is, so take your existing campaign and you can copy and then paste to make a duplicate of that campaign. Once you've made the campaign duplicate, you can come into the campaign settings, and from there you can enable new customer bidding. Here you go, new customer acquisition. So right by default, it won't be ticked. Now, if you tick it, you're going to get two options: bid higher for new customers than for existing customers. And I don't recommend doing this option. What I recommend is this first option is what you would do if you weren't duplicating your campaign. So if you just wanted to keep the one campaign, you could bid higher for new customers within the existing campaign. But in order to do that, you have to add additional conversion value for new customers, and this adds that value into your revenue column in Google. So it kind of inflates your revenue column in Google, which is not the worst thing in the world, but it does just get a bit more fiddly and annoying to know how much revenue Google's actually making for you. So in a lot of cases, I recommend you just duplicate the campaign, duplicate the existing campaign, and then in your new campaign, you only bid for new customers. So your original campaign will be bidding for everyone. It will be bidding for returning customers, and then your new campaign that you just duplicated, you can set to only bid for new customers. And then the other trick to do is to make sure that you have a lower ROAS target in your new customer campaign versus your previous campaign, right? There's no point doing this if you just set the same ROAS target for the original campaign and the new customer campaign. The whole point of doing this is so that you can aim your new customer campaign at a lower ROAS target than your existing customer campaign. And the reason for this is this will then reflect the fact that new customers have a higher value to you. So you can do this by either lowering the ROAS target on the new customer campaign, or you can increase the ROAS target on the original customer campaign, or you could do a little bit of both. Either or. Just make sure that the new customer campaign has a lower ROAS target to reflect the fact that those guys have a higher value to you and your business. And this strategy is good to use if you are prioritizing attracting more new customers because you know that new customers have a very high LTV for you, right? If you're not the kind of business that actually gets a strong LTV from new customers, then there's possibly not much point doing this. This is more for businesses where new customers have a very high value, have a very high LTV. Okay, let's talk about ongoing monitoring. So here's how I recommend checking your bid strategy on the daily, weekly, and monthly basis. So daily checks. In terms of your budget, check your budget and spend each day, and just ensure that your spend, I should have said spend rather than budget there, ensure your spend hasn't gone up by like 3x or gone down by like 85%. Check that it's not wildly different, right? Anything in between is fine, right? It's possible for Google to spend up to 2x your daily budget per day. So don't worry if it spends a bit more than your daily budget. It will balance it out on a 30-day basis. So your 30-day budget will always be on track, right? So if you've got a $100 per day budget, on any given day, it might spend up to $200, but if that happens, it's going to optimize it so that over the 30-day period, you don't spend more than $3,000. So that's how that works. So don't flip out if you spend 2x, up to 2x more, and don't flip out if the spend drops by like 50%. This range of fluctuation in ad spend is totally normal, just due to random probability and chance. Only worry if your spend has more than like 3x or like dropped by more than 85%. That could indicate something is up, but any other sort of daily variation in spend, I wouldn't worry too much about. Search lost IS due to budget. So just ensure, as I mentioned earlier, that this is 0, assuming your ROAS is profitable. Then search lost IS due to budget should always just be 0. And if you see it higher than 0, then just raise your daily budget. And then conversion tracking. Just verify each day that your conversions and revenue are still being tracked. So really what we're looking for here with your spend and your conversions is like that it just hasn't gone totally crazy. Like it hasn't tripled or gone to 0 basically. And anything in between, it can just be normal. It's probably just normal statistical fluctuation most of the time. And if it's something beyond normal statistical fluctuation, you're going to see it happening for more than one day. And if you just see it for one day, then you shouldn't probably not be too worried in most cases. Now, what do you check on a weekly basis? So the main things to look at on a weekly basis are your spend, your ROAS, your revenue, and your gross profit. So that's the holy quad to look at. Spend, ROAS, revenue, gross profit. Spend, ROAS, and revenue are columns that you can just pull up natively within Google Ads. And then gross profit, you would actually have to do a custom column. You can do a custom column in Google Ads. You find it like this. Columns, modify columns. So custom columns here, you can create a custom column, and then you can have a custom column for your gross profit. And I would have gross profit after ad spend. So the formula for that is revenue multiplied by gross profit margin percentage, subtract ad spend, whack that in as a custom column in Google Ads. And then those 4 columns are what I check as a high level view on the weekly basis to look at the health of the overall bid strategy. And you want to look at it week over week and month over month as well. And then in terms of monthly adjustments, what can you be adjusting on the monthly basis? So you can adjust your target return on ad spend or your CPA. For example, decrease the ROAS target or increase the CPA target if you want to pump volume at expense of margin. So you'll be making less margin per dollar of ad spend, but you'll be getting more sales volume. So you can try that if your campaign's very profitable and you want to juice the volume a bit. Alternatively, increase your ROAS target or decrease your CPA target. If you want to increase your margin, like the amount of money you're making per dollar, at the expense of volume, you might make less total sales doing this, but make more dollars per sale doing this. So those are 2 kind of options for monthly adjustments for tweaking your campaign in the direction you want it to go, either more profitability or more revenue, or more volume, I should say, or alternatively, just not. You don't have to change a lot of things. You don't have to be tweaking your ROAS target or your CPA target every single month. Ideally, you actually want to be in a situation where you don't have to tweak it at all, right? If it ain't broken, don't fix it. So be patient. Don't feel like you have to adjust it every month, and certainly don't be adjusting it every day. And yeah, those are some options for what to adjust if you do want to tweak something. And there you have it, the ultimate bidding strategy to get the most out of your Google Ads. Now, if you are ready to take things to the next level, do check out my free Google Ads e-commerce course in the description below this video. Totally free, and it's linked for you down there. It's packed with actionable strategies to help you turn your Google Ads campaign into a profit machine for your e-commerce business. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.